Well, hey everybody, how are you?
Hello.
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 John.
Yeah, glad to have you here. A few things.
No, hello.
Hi, Leah.
All
Hi,
righty.
Trish. Hi,
Hey,
Trish. No, long time no seen. Just kidding.
I'm around.
So nice to see you again.
Ooh, sarcasm. I love it.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm.
we're ready to go here. All right, so we are talking about today, and thanks everybody for coming out. One of the things that I want to do is more of these little things, impromptu things. I will tell you now that there will be a page for this on my dongenetti.com page. If you go there after tomorrow, there'll be a page there. There'll be a whole lot more information there for you to download, etc. A couple of workbooks to download, work pages if you want, but that'll be ready tomorrow because it'll have this video there talking about what we're doing. So that will be at dongianetti.com / what was it? Personal dash projects. dongianetti.com personal dash projects. And be a lot of stuff. They won't be there until tomorrow afternoon, so don't go looking for it today. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about why I think, absolutely, positively think that photographers must do personal projects. This comes about by looking around and seeing what's going on out there. And I'll be very honest with everybody and say there's not a whole lot going on out there right now. It is probably been the last 6 months have probably been the worst 6 months in commercial photography history. It's that bad, but I will tell you this, that the next quarter after Christmas will be lit, just lit. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but there will be a lot more going on. I guarantee it. So you got to get ready. So there's a couple of things about personal projects that keep us, that keep me understanding how important they are and why you should do them. Number one is creative freedom. We do so much work for our portfolios, and sometimes I know I just came off of doing a portfolio class with a group, and sometimes there's a tendency for us to be safe with our portfolio. Like we got to make portfolio shots. And I know if you're a commercial photographer and your specialty is, say, food or beverage, you have to make those beverage shots, and you have to make those shots that make sense for your portfolio. And we all have to do that. But sometimes, don't you want to take a picture of something else just for fun, just for the artistic reality of it? Well, we can't. Let's say if you're a beverage shooter and you've got your website, you've got food, beverage, lifestyle, your three buttons, great. But you just love dog racing. And I'm fighting a dog over here. That's why dogs came to mind. So, greyhound racing or now, now.
I
So,
want to be in class too.
or horse racing, or maybe you like rabbits. I don't know. But this is a chance for you to work on a personal project to make photographs of something you really enjoy and relax a little bit from the commercial. Okay, you have to stop.
But pay attention to me, not the screen.
Yeah.
She's been
Show
fine
me
for the
on the
last 20
screen.
minutes
Show
while
me.
I've been getting ready. She's fine. And as soon as this comes on, she's like, me, it's all about me. All right, so we will we'll venture forth here. Over here. I'm going to have to put her out in a second. When you're choosing a project and you choose something that you really, really enjoy, you get a chance to do something very creative with it. This can be a big boost to your own commercial photography work. You may find a way to incorporate it. One of the things that you've got to know about personal projects is that the first thing that clients go and look at is personal projects. In every survey when they talk about art directors or editors, they go to the website. If they're looking for a food photographer, they might look at food first, yes, but the next thing they're going to click is personal projects. If they're not looking for somebody in specific or some job in specific, they go right to the projects. They want to see, what do you do when you're not doing what you do for a job? And so your projects are huge. Skill development. Let's say there's a skill. I mentioned in an earlier class that for years, I never did any composite work. I just didn't do it. I didn't do it because I wasn't really interested in doing that kind of work. I didn't see any reason, if somebody hired me to do my work, it wasn't going to be composite. And then I got a job. I took a job that I probably should have taken, but it required a lot of compositing, and I was backside. I was upside down. I had to hire somebody to do it, which I probably would have done anyway, but it was really scary when all of a sudden I realized I was way out of my depth. And so I started learning how to composite so that I could do it pretty well. It's not a skill I use a lot now, but it's a skill that I realized that I needed to have. So you've got to understand that, which is another reason, by the way, that if you have Photoshop and you are not diving deep into the AI stuff, you're missing the boat. Do I like it? Nope. I don't like AI. I don't like AI generated anything for me. If my client needs that picture widened, you got it. No problem. AI will do it. When I'm a commercial photographer, when you're a commercial photographer, your job one is to satisfy your client, to help the client get what they need. It is not to push your art onto them. That's job two. Job two is you do your art. Job one is make sure you get it right for your client. And if putting in a sky through AI sky swap works for my client, you bet. My own personal work, I don't even take out telephone pole lines. I won't do it. They were in the picture, they stay. So be familiar with that. And you're right now learning a skill development of that AI would probably be high on my list. If you haven't played with Firefly 3, which is in Photoshop now as well. If you haven't played with Firefly 3, play with Firefly 3 at least 30 minutes a day until you get good enough that you understand what you can and cannot do with it. Okay. Here's a project for you, project idea, tip idea. Think of something that you've always wanted to do that was just too far outside your bailiwick. Just like, yeah, that's not me. If it's intriguing at all, and you think, yeah, that's not me, but that would be cool, that's the one to do. Right there. Boom, do that one. Something that takes you so far out of your comfort zone that you just wonder why you're doing it. And then you do the best thing you possibly can do. And the same thing with skill development. What's the skill? Are you good at motion? If you're not good at motion, make a project based in motion. How am I going to do this? How am I going to create something interesting with a technique I'm not even familiar with? And you build on it. They say the best way to learn something is to teach it. And if you've ever been, I know Lee's a teacher, if you've ever been in a situation where someone comes and asks you to teach something you don't know a lot about, boy, do you learn a lot about it.
On the spot.
On the
Even for
spot.
5 minutes, you
Yep.
talk like you are the expert of it. Of course I
Yep.
know. Oops.
Absolutely. Another reason to do a personal project, and this is very important, is your personal brand. I know there's a big movement out there right now saying, "Oh, screw your personal brand." That's as we go into 2025, you're going to see this a lot everywhere. Personal brand doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, that's called clickbait. Your personal brand is important and will be important forever. That's not going away. Your personal brand is not your logo. The personal brand is what are you known for? And so by taking project work and doing something different with it, doing something um, a little bit out of the ordinary or tackling something that you haven't tackled before, you could end up with a really, really cool situation. My student, Larry Felton, is a photographer in upstate New York. And Larry just was like a photographer. He's doing a lot of this, a lot of that. He wanted to get into portraits, and he wanted to get into portraits in an editorial way. So we spent the last year working on portraits, and this is Larry's website. These are all portraits he's done right in that area where he lives in New York or in New York. And these are all real people that he's advertised for on Craigslist, or he's met through other people and invited them to sit for him. These are all real people. This is a really powerful portfolio, really strong. And I love it. I love it, what he's done. So he's within a year, he's moved from hobbyist photographer to someone with a real point of view and a real solid portfolio. So
Don, question.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you classify his those portraits, like environmental portraits?
Yeah, environmental editorial, yes. He
Okay,
has
thank you.
some student studio work in there. In fact, many of the inside shots were done at studios, but he uses Airbnbs so that there's
Okay.
you know, a decorator's feel to them rather than like a hotel, which there's no way to escape a hotel room. It looks like a hotel room, you know.
Mhm.
And the other thing, he uses government buildings a lot because you can shoot in any government building in any state in the United States. You can shoot in the Capitol, or you own it. It's yours as an American citizen. It's your capital. You're allowed to shoot there. Whether you're allowed to bring in a cart full of lights may be up for grabs. I would probably be very careful doing that. But if you're going in with a light on a stand and a subject, they will they can't stop you. So, but yes, editorial environmental portraiture.
Okay,
And
thank
we
you.
have his portfolio out now at some we're looking at magazines, New York Magazine, New Yorker, places where real people have to be shot in unique ways. It's somewhat easy to shoot a movie star. Y'all know that, right? Because you're a professional photographer, they're a professional stand there and have their picture taken person. They're good at it. If you've ever been around someone who is like that, you realize they are as good at doing what they do as you are at doing what you do. It's pretty amazing. So
Then can you post um, the photographer's website portfolio? The
which one?
portrait, the one that you're just talking about.
Oh yeah,
The one
everything will be on that page, Lee.
Oh,
Everything.
wonderful.
Yeah, this video, another video, more stuff on that page, all about personal projects.
Sounds good. Thanks.
So how do you build a personal brand? Well, what do you want to be known for? And that is exactly why Larry chose this as his sort of personal brand photography. He wanted to be known as a portrait photographer who photographed real people, not model mayhem models. And so that's what he did. So you ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? Being a photographer to me is a very emotional lifestyle choice. Because for me, photography is emotion. Red is an emotion. Blue is an emotion. A landscape is an emotion. Trees, ferns, anything that you put in front of your lens is you're expressing yourself. And when we express ourselves, we usually go towards emotion. And we even use those words when we look at it. Oh, that picture makes me feel this way. That picture makes me feel that way. That's an emotional decision. So emotions are a big part of doing it. And when you think about how stressful days can be and our life can be, maybe you take time out of your stressful kind of photography. Maybe you're doing you do food and food you have to take your lights somewhere to a restaurant and you've got to deliver and stuff, and you start to get that burnout. What if you did something that you just absolutely loved so that you could return to that feeling that you had when you first bought a camera? And I know you all had the same feeling I had when I first bought a camera. You bought that camera and you started to take pictures of everything that was in front of you, whether it was a tree or a leaf or a shadow or your kids or whatever. The thrill of making a photograph with that camera is overwhelming. And then we become pros and we shoot a lot of pictures, and then 10 years later we've forgotten what it's like to be that way. A personal project is a perfect way to help get back to that feeling. And that feeling will just spread. It'll just float everywhere in your life. Another reason is networking opportunities. Personal projects open doors. Personal project can be an excuse for you to meet people. Carla McMahon, who is one of our students, uh, Carla McMahon wanted to do pictures of gin. She thought it would be a pretty good idea, so she did the gin book. She contacted distilleries around her and asked if she could photograph their gin, and she would put that picture in her book that she was doing on gin, and they could add a recipe. And so you ended up with these are the pages. Here's the gin, there's the pages, and here's some photographs from the book. Everybody at the beginning, Lee was probably there when we were talking. At the beginning, she was getting 3 no's to every yes. As more people signed on, she ended up having to turn people away. Now, how many of these gin companies saw this work from her and hired her to do more work? Answer, a lot. Enough that she converted her part of her restaurant into a studio and was shooting 7 days a week and is still shooting as much as she wants to. And she's in a little town in South Africa. So before anybody starts saying, well, that won't work in my town, she's in a little town. She's 3 hours by plane from Cape Town in South Africa. Okay?
She's in the middle of nowhere then.
Yeah, pretty much. Look at the work. Now, does she shoot in Cape Town? Yep, all the time. They fly her to Cape Town and she shoots. She shot for Tanqueray. She shot for, well, several major gin distillers that you would all know. And a lot of these are just little mom and pop stores, ginneries right there in South Africa. So where you are, not an excuse. Just not an excuse. You can do this anywhere. So how would you do that? Well, I would probably networking opportunities. I think about who I'd love to collaborate with. Let's say you're really interested in motorcycles. You know, that's really what you'd kind of like to do. Okay, why don't you figure out a project that would help you introduce yourself to people who deal with motorcycles, from motorcycle sellers to motorcycle customizers to motorcycle accessory parts makers to motorcycle riders to clubs to adventure mount motorcycling. If that's something you're interested in, walking up to somebody and say, hey, can I come to your factory and take pictures of motorcycles may not work. Hey, I'm doing a book or a project on motorcycles, and here's the last 15 shots I've done here on my phone or my tablet. And now you can get an invitation because you're working on something that could benefit them. Or maybe they just like the fact that you're working on something altogether and that's it. But you can use a personal project to network out, just like Carla did, and meet and possibly win clients over. You'll never win clients over sitting in your studio. Won't happen. Forget about it. It's not on in the cards. I know everybody says, well, your Instagram will do this. You know what? I wouldn't bet anything on Instagram. If you're betting your farm on Instagram, wow, that's kind of like a let it all ride on red, folks. That's a tough one. Instagram is a part of your marketing program. It's not your marketing program. It's crazy. So how do we decide on a project? Well, let me show you a few projects. You've seen, get over here. You've seen the Jen project. You've seen Larry's portraitures here. But let's look at his name was up here. Ian Spanier. Ian Spanier, this is his story on cigars. This is a long story. This is something that maybe took years or months, at least. He's got people who make cigars down here. This in itself was a project that appeared in a couple of magazines. The New York Times picked it up. These are the people who are in the cigar business. He just started delving into cigars. Look at this fantastic work. You want to sell yourself to a magazine? Here's what you do right here. Self-assign yourself something and then cover it with this level of coverage. This isn't something that you do in a day. It's something you start and you grow with it. Maybe it takes you a year. Maybe it takes you a month. Maybe it takes you 2 months. Who knows? But you build and build and build. And probably never really step away from it, never having it really be finished. These long form projects are great for the soul, great for the eye. Have you ever noticed that phenomenon? You're sitting in traffic and you look over and you see a car that you've never seen before, and you think, wow, what is that? Oh, it's a Tesla 3. I've never seen a Tesla 3. What do you see the next mile? Another Tesla 3, right? They've been there all that time. You just hadn't patterned it into your brain. It's not there. Now you see 2 of them. Now you're going to see them everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you're going to see them because you're set your brain to see them. It's the same way with a personal project. When you're working on a personal project, every moment you're not working on that project, you're still thinking about it. And so you're composing and you're thinking of depth of field and you're thinking of edges of the frame and you're thinking of color and these things because your brain hasn't turned it off. And it can be really, really beneficial. So Ian Spanier, let's look at, this was fun. This was Kids in the Hood. A guy was out photographing one day in his neighborhood and he saw some kids playing, took a picture, and it ended up being Kids in the Hood. This is just a little neighborhood where he lives. And these are the kids there, and he's met the parents, and he's met the kids, and he's created all these amazing portraits of children just in his neighborhood. Really, really, really good work. But this is also over a period of time. You couldn't go out and get this many kids to be ready to make photographs in a day or even a weekend. This is something that takes time and builds over time. I love it. So one of the things you can do is reflect deeply on your personal interests and passions. In the case of Ian Spears, loves cigars, really passionate about it, turn it into something cool. In the case of this photographer here, Heather Perry, she's a mom, she's got kids, loves what she's doing, loves kids, loves making portraits. Let's combine them, see what's out there. You can identify areas of growth that you need. So with Larry, it was, I need to learn how to shoot people. I need to learn how to shoot people in a way that sort of sets me apart. Great. In the case of Ian Spears, it may have been, I really want to investigate how much of a story I can make out of a simple cigar. You walk into a convenience store and there's a cigar sitting there, and you never even think about all that it takes to go into that cigar. So he's showing us something pretty powerful. Practicality and feasibility. This is a sort of a moment of truth, or a delta point if you're into project management. This is a delta point. It's easy to go, wow, this is really cool. I think I'll do a cigar thing. Okay, that's great. But you live in Tacoma, Washington, and you don't have a trust fund. So jumping on an airplane to go to Cuba 3 times in a year to get pictures for your portfolio might be an issue, right? Could just be an issue. So maybe you have to refine it so that you can do it. One of the things we photographers use as a point of resistance, a negative thing that we can use to not do it. You know what resistance is, right? That's that little guy on your shoulder when you sit down to write out something and it says, well, I'm glad you're going to write this out, but we better sharpen all the pencils first. And so you get out to sharpen the pencils, you realize that you don't have a good pencil sharpener. So you get in the car and you go to Walmart to get a pencil sharpener. While you're there, you get a hose. And when you get home, you hook the hose up and water the plants. That's resistance keeping you from writing. You know what you tell resistance when it says you don't have enough pencils? You say, shut up, and you write with what you have. Because resistance will always be there. It's not a war you can win. It's a battle every day. Every day, our little lizard brains are telling us what we can't do and what we shouldn't do. Don't you hate that word shouldn't and wouldn't and couldn't? I hate when someone says, oh, you should. I should? Show me a should. What is a should? What is a would? I would have done it. No, you wouldn't have done it because you aren't me. Would, should, could. These are terrible, terrible words. Words of the resistance that keeps us from doing what we need to do, which is jump in and get it done. So you have to ask yourself, okay, do I have the money? Or is this project too big? Is it going to entail something that's going to cost me a lot of money or too much time or something? So let's take cigars. Okay, you love cigars. You can't do cigars nationally. How about if you did portraits of all the people who work in cigar shops around your county? There could be 15, 20 cigar shops in your county. Well, that could be cool. You could be this nice environmental portrait of somebody in their cigar shop. That's a project. Maybe it takes you a month to do. Great. As a matter of fact, I would tell you, pick a project initially, if you're not working on one, pick a project that you can do quickly, that you can do in a month. So you have that little adrenaline rush when you go, wow, that's cool. I finished it. What's my next project? That's cool. So make sure that you can do it and that it's able to be done with your assets. Challenge yourself to something outside your comfort zone. Like, I don't like heights. So I'm going to do a personal project on parachuting. No, I'm not really going to do that. I can't lie. No, and nothing's going to get me to jump out of a perfectly fine airplane. That's not going to happen. But if you have something that's outside your comfort zone, for me, it's sports. I don't do sports. I don't watch sports on TV, but I've been fascinated about doing something sports related. That's cool. it's too easy for me to do something architecture, or it's too easy for me to go out and do portraits because I've done that my whole life. I want to challenge myself with something that I don't know about. Maybe it's bicycle racing. That would be cool. It won't be motorcycle racing because that's an overlap. That's kind of a cheat. I love motorcycles, so we'll leave that for later. I want to step outside my comfort zone and do something different. So if you do step outside the comfort zone and you have this thing that you're doing, maybe you pick something you don't even like. Like you think, wow, I hate drag racing. Drag racing, my friend used to go to the drag race a lot. Well, I don't even understand it. That may be a great project for you. Because whether you end up liking it or not liking it, you've stepped very far out of your comfort zone. And now you have to deliver. And you start looking for those photographs that are right in front of you. And it becomes a challenge. It can become exciting, really exciting. And then what do you want to say with your work? I think a lot of us commercial photographers, we get into sometimes we get into a groove where as we get older, we start thinking, I want to do something more important with my work. I want to do something more important than take a picture of a hamburger. I want to do something more important than just taking pictures of products so that people can sell them. Nothing wrong with that. That's a great and noble thing to do, and you should do it as well as you can. But you think there's so much more I could do. What is it? What really trips your trigger? Maybe you're an environmentalist. Maybe you want to save the whales, or you want to save the wolves or something. What can you do with your photography that can help push that forward? And then you have a feeling that you're doing something really special, really powerful, and making a difference. Another sunset, while they're beautiful, isn't going to push the needle anywhere. But maybe that picture of uh, people living in their camper and creating a little co-op out in the land, or doing, working off grid that you meet, well, maybe that could be something interesting. Maybe that could develop into a, a program of health. Lots of things can be done to give you a chance to do something and say something with your work. Now, do we jump in or do we plan it? That's a question that sometimes obviously the work in front of you here, the cigar work, was planned. This was probably less planned, but he probably had to, or she probably had to get the people together. I don't know that she was like, okay, well, I want you to wear a red dress and I'm going to find this wall that's green or whatever. But there's some planning involved, from lots of planning to not so much planning to terrific planning. This is a long-term project by Suzanne Seroff of using these bottles and putting something behind them. And there's a lot of them here. These weren't all shot in a day. These are things that she works on as she's in the studio. So do you jump into something like this? Maybe you do something fun, something that you grab something out of a hall closet. You go to the hall closet, you look in there and you see, well, I got a basketball, soccer ball, baseball, football, some croquet balls. You may have a project sitting right there. That could be something, now do you figure do you take them outside and shoot them? Do you work them on this in the studio? A lot of things can go on. So sometimes you just jump in and do it. And sometimes it takes a lot of planning. Don't let the planning get in the way of the execution. Sometimes we can plan and plan and plan, and we never get it done. You know what? The best way to get something done when you're planning it, tell somebody significant what you're going to do. Not what you're planning, but what you're going to do. Because now you have a little bit of a, well, I told my wife or I told my husband or I told my brother I was going to do this, and now I'm not doing it, and it haunts you. You can also get a partner to work with, an accountability partner. Maybe two of you get together and say, hey, I want to do this project. You keep me accountable. What project do you want to do? I'll keep you accountable. And we'll talk to each other each week, and you'll tell me what you did, and I'll tell you what I did, and I'll kick your butt if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, and you can kick mine if I didn't do it. Sometimes that helps. So diving in and planning, two different approaches. I don't know any other approaches. I really don't. Other than maybe sometimes they creep up on you. That was the case of the approach that I had with one of the projects I did, which was a Glaucus project. And for those who don't know what Glaucus means, GLOCAS means girls looking off camera at stuff. So I realized I had a bunch of these pictures, and then as I shot, I constantly made sure I made at least one shot of the girls looking off camera at stuff. And it turned into this one came to me. I didn't go looking for it, and I didn't just jump in. I just noticed that I was already doing it. So sometimes that can happen. So, questions. Is this working? Making your brain think a little bit? Cool.
Don, I have a question, sort
Yeah.
of. Like I've told you in previous meetings and stuff like that, I shoot social media and I do the community management for social media for an olive oil and wine cooperative. Okay, so I'm shooting a lot of farmers and their tractors and I'm putting them in my website, but I'm seeing that it's starting to become repetitive.
Yeah,
So
that happened.
just listening to you now, the idea came to be maybe I should make it a project about tractors. Maybe I should make it a project about the olive trees. Like bring them together.
Let's
We,
discuss this real quickly. You work with olive, so you work out in the field as well as in marketing and everything else. So you cover the whole
no,
thing.
I just do the community management of Facebook and Instagram for this cooperative, and that affords me a lot of opportunities to go out and photograph all the people involved in the cooperative,
Yeah.
farmers, workers, etc. So I'm always out there with my camera taking photographs. Okay, and of course I use these photographs on my website, and maybe it's I don't know, a day in the field with farmer
Oh gosh.
Garcia,
Yeah.
whatever.
A day in the life is a great idea. Always a great idea. You've
Hmm.
committed one day. So that's a project you do in one day. So you talk
Hmm.
about getting a good win. I mean, you still have to make great pictures, right? But you
Right.
get a win at the end of the day. I think that is a great one for all of you. Day in the life of a convenience store clerk could be interesting. Are you kidding? Everything. We're always interested in people. You could also do their hands, the hands of people who work in the olive industry. Everything from
Right.
pickers to the tractor guys to uh, salespeople, hands of the olive industry. You could do
Hmm.
the tractors and the tools of the olive business.
Hmm. Which,
That could
which
be
I do,
cool.
but
Yeah.
would you keep it? I do a lot of these day in the lives of the people. So to me now it's becoming a bit repetitive. So should I maybe like take 10 of these day in the lives of different people and take the pictures of them and their tractors and make it a project about tractors or
You
make it a
could.
project about the tools?
You
Or should
could,
I keep it
absolutely.
as day in the lives of certain people?
Ask them what their favorite tool is.
Hmm.
Ask them if they have a favorite olive oil dish. Well,
Right,
you work in the olive oil industry, you make an olive oil. What's the
right.
number your favorite thing to put olive oil on? Maybe it's crackers, maybe it's a little thing, and you get them with holding the stuff in their hand, you know. Here's
Hmm.
our finished product here. You know, you got the guy in the tractor, you got the people out there in the olive groves picking the olives and doing, do they still that by hand, right? Still picking olives by hand?
Sometimes they do,
Yeah.
sometimes they use machinery, both.
Yeah. You got the people doing that. And so you haven't, they're not involved with that end product. Get them involved with the end product could be a lot of fun.
Hmm.
You know? You could do their favorite recipes. And then you do the recipe. They give you the recipe, you do it your way as a flair, and you end up with tabletop shots of food um, of the olive industry, which is a totally outside of your realm of comfort for what you're normally doing here.
Correct.
There, now you're shooting under a soft light, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so many things, absolutely. But at the same time, you might want to, since you're kind of focused on the olive industry, you might want to also pick a project that's outside of that to deepen your portfolio.
Hmm. Okay.
You know, um, uh, we we if we have too many of our olives in the same basket, to bastardize a pun, that can be a problem. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Right. That's probably a bit what I'm finding out. It's becoming a bit repetitive. I'm putting too much of the same
it's a,
um
it's a very
of the same
narrow,
photographs.
it's a very
Pardon?
narrow niche, Robert. That's what
It
worries
is.
me. It's a very narrow. You
Hmm.
could have the best olive portfolio on the planet, and it would be difficult for you to find enough work because it's
Right. No,
such a narrow niche.
yeah, I have to expand. Hmm.
So maybe you expand from the olives just to people who work in the field or
Hmm.
the transportation of goods. So you've already got olive trucks and that type of thing. Now what's the farm next door? Are they strawberries or the guys up there they're doing blueberries, somebody's doing cucumbers. You can use the olive uh, experience that you have as a way to have their doors open and go, yeah, hey, well, we'd love to have you do something like that for us, or yeah, you can take some pictures around the ranch or whatever and expand out. Farm to you is huge and it's going to be bigger. It's going to be much bigger. Um, there's a lot of signs that we might be moving away from this unhealthy eating that's been foisted on us for way too long. So farm to table is going to explode. And you're right there where farm to table, that's what you're doing,
Yeah.
essentially. So let me give
Thank
you a
you.
couple of ideas for personal projects that I've come up with. Just these are not ones that I've done, but I think they're kind of fun. Strangers in their element. Uh, do portraits of people in everyday environments. Baristas, coffee shops, musicians, people playing on the streets, and to practice that environmental portraiture. Not quite what Larry did, but it could be pretty cool. And remember, anybody who's out in public, especially if they're busking or if they're at a parade or anything like that, they're up to have their picture taken. People say, "Well, where do I find models?" Okay, best place to find models is wherever your public theater folks are. The people who put on the plays. Every town's got a little theater group. They love to have their picture taken. They're never going to say no. That's what they do it for. Same with gymnasts, dancers, uh, sports people. They're used to it. They're fine with it. They want to show off. Urban minimalism. What if you, as a I know Lee shoots architecture. What if your goal was to look for spaces that only had three elements in it: sidewalk, parking meter, wall? If there's a tree, you got to crop it out. Just look for, a lamp in front of a stark wall with a reflection of something. Minimalism. You start looking up minimalism. You start looking at minimalism work and you say, oh, I want to find this. Could be really interesting. A 365-second project where you do a 1 second video, 1 second video clips of each day creates a 30-second montage for the end of the month. We've all got phones. You can do a little 1 second, and then the next day you do a 1 second, and at the end of it, you've got your month with 1 second little increments. Wouldn't that be a blast? Weather diaries. The changing weather wherever you are. Now I live in Phoenix, so I can take that. I can just do one shot and I'll just make it for the year because just sunny sky, done. But if you live in a place where the weather changes, I've seen people do the same Main Street, at fall, winter, summer, spring, that type of thing, or an oak tree for the entire month of October, where it's green at the beginning, and then by the end of October, the leaves are all off of it, and you have this 30-day thing. These could be really, really cool. Self-portraits with a twist. Take a daily self-portrait and implement something of a prop or a disguise or something that would alter your character. So like Lee starts and she gets up, and first day it's Lee the school teacher. Second day, she's got a guitar and a hat on the ground in front of her, and it's Lee the busker. The next day she dresses as a chef, gets a picture in front of a restaurant, Lee the chef. Now, these could be really, really fun. And I don't mean it like do it one day at a time. I'm just saying you could develop these things over a period of time that could be really cool. We had a photographer way back in Project 52. She shot her husband and she bought him a black bowler. And whenever she shot him, he was in a black bowler. And she used him for everything. Eventually, she ended up getting him a red sport jacket with that black bowler, and that became a whole series of images. And he actually appeared in many ads that she did because the people loved the work so much. She's a graphic designer and a photographer in Connecticut. Textures of nature, macro, a seashell, a pine cone, a piece of lichen, a rock. But all of your pictures are taken at macro levels. So we don't see that it's a pine cone. We might deduce that it's a pine cone, but you're going to show us something we don't normally see. Show me something I've never seen before, or show me something I've seen a lot in a way I haven't seen it. A piece of dog food. We don't usually pick up dog food and go like this with it, but you do with your camera. And we go, wow, what is that? Oh, it's dog food? Oh, that's cool. It's our brain working and we like it. Here's one I love. I love shadows. I have a whole series of shadows. If there's a tree and it's casting a shadow on a wall or on a sidewalk, I love it. I'm all over that. It could be reflections. There was a art photographer a number of years ago. He photographed 60 images of the St. Louis Arch, all reflections. He never directed the camera towards the arch. He had it in windows. He had it in there was a police car there, and he had it in the shiny spotlight that the old police cars used to do. Had it that way. His brain was for a year to find the arch reflected from somewhere in the city and photograph that. What a brilliant idea. I've looked for that online and I can't, I'll find it someday. Faces of the neighborhood. You live in an urban area or you live in a rural area. There's all kinds of people. You know your neighbors? Say, hey neighbor, I want to get a picture of you. you know? I want to get a picture of you with something you're really proud of. In my neighborhood, there's horses everywhere. If I went to my neighbors and said, I want to get a picture of you and your favorite horse, I'd probably get 3 no's out of every 10 yeses because people would do it because it's something they're interested in. If someone has a beautiful lawn, wouldn't that be interesting? Capturing all the people with beautiful lawns? Or how about the homeowner and the big Christmas light decoration things that he's put up, right? Would that be cool? Because when someone spends that kind of money on a house and puts all that lights on it, they're pretty proud of it. You knock on the door and say, I'd like to come back tomorrow and get a portrait of you in front of your house because you're going to have to shoot it at dusk, not at night, because it's going to look awful if it's just, darkness around it. But right at dusk, that little wink of strobe, and you've got them at their houses. How cool would that be? If you don't want to meet the people, how cool would it be to go around and just photograph those houses right in that 8 minute window, the blue hour? So the sky's still got light in it and the Christmas lights are stuck. And you just have this documentary of all these houses with their Christmas lights on it. Could be cool. Abandoned spaces or forgotten places. Now that's one that we photographers, how many of you can't keep yourself from an old abandoned building? With the, yeah, I know that yeah, I'm there. I can't help it. If it's got leaves growing through the boards, I am there. So, but abandoned buildings, deserted parks. One There's a deserted amusement park, I think in Texas, that was destroyed by one of the hurricanes. And I've seen several photographers who've done projects there. Several photographers have done the Salton Sea. And I would personally love to do a piece on the Salton Sea. I got to figure out how to do it. If you don't know what the Salton Sea is, it's this great big body of water in California that is slowly evaporating. It is now poison. You don't want to put your feet in it. There's no boats in it anywhere. There's no fish left. It is literally rotting away, probably one of the largest environmental hazards in the world that nobody talks about. But it used to be the rich and famous went there. Big hotels and resorts, and all the actors and actresses from the 50s into the early 60s were there. Kim Novak and Johnny Carson and all. They played there. Well, now that it's toxic, those places are gone. And if they didn't raise them to the ground, then there's like they're falling over and there's these. It's just a environmental mess. Great place. I got to figure out what my take would be there, or how I would do that that story because I don't live next to it. Thank goodness. In the summer, it reeks. Oh my God, it's like being next to a cesspool. In the winter, not so bad. So there's 10 different ideas. I want to show you another one here by we looked at this perspective stuff here, which I think is really fascinating. This is something you could do with just a tabletop set. I saw a really interesting set of photographs once, and I'll describe them to you. There was a wallet. It was all crusted in dirt on white seamless. There was a watch laid out flat on white seamless. There was a hair clip there on white seamless photograph. Sound boring? They were boring. It was like, why would you take a picture of a hair clip? And then you find out these are the only pieces of humanity left in the World Trade Center rubble.
Mhm.
Does it take on new meaning now? Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Now that hair clip can make you cry.
Mm.
Think about what you could do on a tabletop. It's pretty interesting.
Mm.
I say this one for last because my Project 52 members are going to smile. Here is a red balloon project. His daughter with a red balloon. So, you know, your personal projects can be just about anything you want them to be. All right. Questions? Got a few minutes for questions. Anybody have a project they want to share?
Hi, this is Judy. Yeah, I do mainly headshots in the past, and now I'm
Uh-huh.
taking a food course, which is interesting. But I recently moved to a new town in Michigan, and it's a small town, but it's in the Detroit metro area, and there are a lot of businesses. So I really think I want to go to the different businesses and do kind of like environmental portraits.
I think it's a
But
great
but
idea.
the question is, I have a lot of nervousness about doing that because I don't think my skill set in doing environmental portraits is very good yet. So you said the personal project should be something fun. And I'm kind of concerned that this may be the fact that I don't feel like I'm good enough yet is going to get in the way of me going out and doing this.
Well, there's a couple ways to look at it. If you ever get to the point where you think you're good enough to do anything, you probably should quit. Right?
Mhm.
If we don't have that little somewhere in the pit of our gut, we don't try hard enough. So, but I can also understand like you just don't want to blow it.
Yeah,
However, Judy, you're a good headshot photographer. I don't think you'll blow it. I think
maybe
you might
not.
want to get some practice under your belt, maybe 2 or 3 portraits under your belt, environmental portraits, and you can do the same thing Larry does. And that is he put an ad in Craigslist and he offered $20. That's it. 20
Hmm.
bucks. You come over and I do portraits of you for 1 hour. You get 5 portraits and 20 bucks. And he always, every week, he got 6 people. Now he was committed. You don't have to do 6 people a week, but he was literally committed to this portrait project. So you could use Craigslist for 20 bucks, get somebody come over and, downtown or wherever you would think you'd be shooting and practice for an hour. That's all you need, right? You don't need all day. Sometimes I would put myself in a position where I'd be with somebody all day. It's too much, too much. Just an hour, and see what you get.
Yeah, but what I want to do is I want to go into their little businesses because there's a lot of little businesses.
Sure. So that's what I'm saying. You take that person you're paying $20 and you ask the deli guy if you can take a picture of him in sitting at the deli. That way the deli guy's got he has no skin in the game.
Right, right, right.
So if the pictures don't come out good, he doesn't get to see those. Right? Now,
So
when you nail it down, then you go, that looks pretty good. Then you come in and go, hey, Mr. Deli owner, I want to get a picture, build a big sandwich and sit right here. I want to get a really cool shot of you and your store here, and I'm going to give you 5 shots for your Instagram. That's how you do it.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Who else has a question?
Well, I was thinking about what you were talking with Robert. There's a farm to market farm in South Phoenix that I started to do some stuff with. And but take a picture of the vegetables is good, but to get into somebody's life a bit and find out, well, what would be a recipe that they would like to see made with this stuff, and then
Mhm.
make it up, and then maybe have a shot with them and their family, with the thing. So
I
that
love
would
it.
make it more of a circle, close the circle.
I love it. I love that
And
idea. I love that idea. You could approach farm to market from so many different ways. You could do farm to market from the farm, right? Then you could
Mhm.
go to the market, the actual places where they sell it. That could be a whole project in itself. And then talking with people who cook with natural foods. You could actually end up with a recipe book, right?
Right.
Here's a farm to table recipe book, and they're all beautiful recipes with beautiful still lifes of food, etc. but it's really still part of a farm to project stuff. Plus, you've got transportation. Plus, you've got co-op farms. You've got homestead farms. There's a homestead farm up in, I believe it's in Payson, Jay. I just saw it on one of the online magazines I read of. Apparently, there's a family living up there, and they've got like an acre, and they're growing. I think it's blackberries, but they grow their own food. They're solar. They pump well water. They are literally off the grid, and they make money. Um, well, I think Dad's a writer, so he's online, but Mom is selling blackberries and vegetables from the garden. So there's a story there. There could be a
Yeah.
story just in the tools and technology of the creating a homestead because it's not like it used to be. Now they've got solar panels and they've got these things that help the plants grow. We're putting in a garden at our house if it ever gets built, at least if it's built in this century, I'll be happy. But we're going to put in one of those hydroponic, those tall ones where you just grow the lettuce
Yeah.
down the sides. Um, we're putting in one of those. We're going to actually put it in here in my daughter's house or on the porch next month. So we're going to start doing that. Um, see how we learn. That could be a whole project in hydroponics. These There's no limit to what the camera
Mm.
be pointing at. Sheila, are you there?
Don,
Sheila, are you there? Sheila Joy?
I am. I'm just listening to all
I'm
this.
going to capture your shot there on your uh, Zoom and put it in the
Okay.
picture middle of all my Zoom calls. Look at it. You want to talk to her, right? She's so happy. She's so pretty. She's sitting down like, oh, I'm just going to talk to Sheila. Uh,
That's just a picture I captured with my camera on the Mac, just to put on there so you weren't looking at a blank screen since I didn't feel like being on camera today.
so how's it going there?
It's going great. We're building a house out in the country, and so I have a lot of ideas listening to you guys talk.
How about
We're
building
moving,
your house?
huh?
How about building your house?
Yeah, I've been
That's
documenting it. I've been
absolutely.
documenting it from we bought the property last October, and we literally just did our last concrete pour for the stem walls last week. And so I have images and video and drone shots and all of that. So I've been putting little snippets out on social media, but nothing, not a big. I've been thinking about putting in like creating a whole story, but I haven't done that yet.
Excellent. That's great.
But moving to the country, we're moving to major agricultural area that grows lots of lavender and onions and alfalfa. And it is a major, farming community. So
So
I
you're
have been thinking about doing a personal project on some of the farmers in the area.
so you're out of the snow then.
No, 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 we're still high desert.
Oh, are you?
You're,
Okay.
it's going to be Urington, Nevada. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. What would I say? Southeast of Reno.
Okay.
It's out in the country. Very peaceful. A
By the way,
lot less neighbors.
how many of you know, we were talking about mountains, how many of you know which state in America has the most mountains in it? The most mountainous state, who knows? Nevada.
Tennessee. Oh, Nevada.
Nevada.
I
Other than
wasn't going
Las
to cheat.
Vegas, other than Las Vegas, that big flat hellhole that is Las Vegas, the rest of the state's mountainous.
Yep, it is. It's
It's
true.
it's one of the most beautiful underrepresented states you'll ever go. I love to go up to Ely and
Yep.
the road north to Twin Falls. It's
Yeah.
like being in a Western movie. If you get on that road and you go over pass, and you look out on both sides, it's mountain. Now these aren't rugged Rocky mountains, but they're mountains that I doubt you could climb them. I mean, they're just rock mountains, but there's layer after layer after layer after layer as far as you can see. Just astounding. It's a great place, and if you haven't been to, what's it called? Oh, darn it! It's near Baker, Nevada. Mm.
Baker. Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
a national park. It's the least visited national park in America.
Not the Valley of Fire.
No, no.
Okay. I just went there last winter and I love it there. It's so beyond
Valley of Fire?
amazing. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Not
Isn't that
thinking of Great
amazing?
Basin.
Great
Never been
basin.
Very
Thank you.
surprising that it's
Great,
there.
yeah, Great Basin.
Great Basin. Oh,
Oh my
okay.
God,
Yeah.
is that beautiful? You start out at high desert. Well, actually, start out at sort of low desert, medium low desert, and you drive on that road, and 24 miles later, you're at 11,000 feet at an alpine lake. So you literally drive through almost every climate zone in the world on that one road. I've done it twice on a motorcycle, and it's incredible because the smells change
Yep.
at each level. It's just incredible. Nobody there. Even in peak summer, folks, ain't nobody there. But you go always down to the rousing town of Baker for a great place to stay. They have let's see, two motels and one restaurant that's usually not open. So you might want to stay somewhere else. But yeah, I am a big lover of Nevada. I just think it's an underrated state for people who like to get out in the outdoors. So, all
I
right,
love it.
folks,
I absolutely love it.
I'm so glad you came out. Did you enjoy it?
Very much.
All right,
Very much.
excellent.
Yes, thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Don.
All right, so check the page. That's donginetti.com/personal dash projects. That's the URL. It'll be ready tomorrow afternoon and be a lot more there for you. And then tell your friends.
Are
Take
we
care,
gonna
everyone.
get together again?
What's that?
Are we going to get together again?
Oh yeah, certainly. I'm going to do this. I want to do these every other weekend. So
So
every
the
other,
next session will be not this coming Saturday, but the next one.
yeah, but it won't be on personal projects. It'll be something else. Um,
Very good.
Judy Doherty has moved her studio from Denver back to Southern California. So she and I are going to get together for a chat. We may have her on to talk about her adventures in creating a studio in Northern California, a beautiful studio, moving it all in Denver, creating another studio, a beautiful, beautiful studio, and then picking up and moving to Southern California, where she thinks that maybe this might be the last time she picks up an entire food studio. She has a 400 by 600-foot room full of plates, dishes, glasses, silverware, everything. It's an entire mini home of props that have to get moved each time. So that'll be fun talking to Judy. Everybody have a great one, and we'll see you next time.
She put
Thank
up
you.
a
Thank you.
she put up a note on she sent out to people about the new place.
Yep,
So
that'd be
it's
fun.
pretty
It's pretty cool.